This is Andi Purewal for Boxing Social in association with Betfred, and on Globe Jumbo Skies, Adam Smith here in Manchester. Adam, how are you doing?
I'm very good. Exciting times. Lots happening. Almost like a sort of announcement every day. And there's massive amounts happening in the heavyweight division. Obviously Scott Quigg and John O'Carroll, what we're really here for in Manchester for Fight Week. And it's really good times. I guess, with Anthony Joshua reclaiming the titles out in Saudi, and then Tyson Fury's amazing performance, we were lucky enough to be there for it, against Deontay Wilder. It's just given, a massive boost to British boxing. I think, we've had that for a long time, halcyon period and a great period, but it's got even bigger. Add Dillian, Whyte and Povetkin to the party. This great fight's been announced. We know we've got Dubois and Joyce coming up as well in April. It's heavyweights are flying, women's boxing's flying. For Terry Harper's announcement today with Natasha Jonas, that's brilliant. Savannah Marshall, my old mentee at Sky, she's fighting for a world title in a few weeks' time. Happy days.
Sorting my wire out there, Adam. Just a little tangled. Let's just crack on, get into it. There's a lot that's gone on since we last had a chance to speak. We originally came up here for the Quigg Carroll press conference announcement, and then yesterday we had it announced, Whyte Povetkin. Let's get into Quigg Carroll first. What are your thoughts on their bout?
It's a great fight. It's a fantastic fight. Old cliche in boxing, Andy, but it's a crossroads. It really is, and it's a fight that certainly Scott Quigg can't afford to lose. John O'Carroll, what a character. Lively, buoyant, confident, breath of fresh air in many ways. It's great being around him. He's got an infectious attitude, and he's got some real quality to bring into this fight. He's non-stop. He jokes about his feather fists and all that, but I think his performance against Tevin Farmer, I was there for that in Philly, and he gave Farmer real problems, and he's been back sparring with Tevin. So Scott's going to have to be on his game, and he's been out a while, lost a bit of momentum. Obviously, he's learnt a lot under Freddie Roach. Back with Joe Gallagher in Manchester. That might give him the slight edge because, in terms of pedigree and who he's fought, Scott should come through on paper, but could be about timing, as we find in boxing a lot, and a lot of people fancy John O to come through this. So I think he's got 12 rounds all over it, and I think it should be an absolute humdinger.
What should we expect from Scott? Obviously, over the past few years where he's been out in America working with Freddie Roach, we've seen him get involved in a few wars, some big scraps out there. How much of a toll do you think that will take on his body? Yeah,
it's a good question. I mean, there's been no one probably in British boxing more dedicated than Scott Quigg over the years. I remember seeing him out in New York one time. I was there for, I think Brian Rose was fighting Demetrius Andrade, and Scott was just sat there at the press conference, and he had a bag with him, and I said, "What are you doing?" He said, "Well, it's literally have gloves, will travel. I'm going sparring with," and he's like that. And I think he went over to the wild card a few times and on his own steam. And his Paul Speak has been with him a long time, and they've and his mum has been brilliant for him and his career. And I just think I like him. I like his attitude, and it's refreshing. And he's always willing to learn and get the best out of himself. And he's been a great world champion, and maybe that's his limit. Maybe he can come again and become a two-weight king. We'll wait and see. I mean, it's a fantastic story, Scott Quigg's. He didn't perform on his big night against Carl Frampton, which I think he probably, eats away at him a bit. He had the difficult fight with Valdez out in the States, and it was a tough one. And you're right, maybe time will catch up with Scott, but in a way you sort of hope not, because he's a great advocate for the sport. But John O'Carroll's younger, and he's very, very hungry for this. He's very ambitious, and is he good enough? So it's got a lot in the pot here. It's a great main event on a Saturday night on Sky Sports.
Let's just quickly touch on a few of the other fights on the card. Obviously, you've got Parker Murdoch, number one and number two with WBO. What are your thoughts on there about?
Yeah, slips under the radar. Not many people talking about it, but it'd be a good fight. I think it'd be a really good fight. I think it's another pick'em, and it's a real chance for Parker to come through on a big night, on a big stage. But Murdoch's decent. There's a lot of quality there. They don't get to number one and number two for nothing. I mean, it's a big fight, and the winner is looking at Canelo, Billy Joe Callum sort of territory, which is amazing to think of. Not many people would have heard of either in the casual trade, but it's a real opportunity for them to change that on Saturday night.
And then obviously Anthony Fowler, first fight with Shane McGuigan since their link-up. How do you expect Anthony to show the differences that he'd have been working on with Shane?
Yeah, I mean, look, Anthony Fowler was with Dave Caldwell, who's obviously a great friend of Sky's and a brilliant trainer, so surprising that change. But Shane McGuigan's one of the best trainers around, and he's proved that time and time again. And so maybe Anthony just felt he needed a slight change of scene, and he's linked up with Shane, and I'm really looking forward to seeing how they develop together. And I'm sure Dave is as well, but yeah, Shane will have done wonders for him, and he'll just try and make the odd change. I don't think they'll change too much with Anthony. He is what he is. We know his qualities. We know what he can do. The big fight is with Scott Fitzgerald. If we can get the rematch on at some point, maybe late spring, early summer, and yeah, be good to get him out and about again. Fowler, he's popular. He's the machine. People like him, or even if they don't, they watch him.
I think it's all the CBD that he sells, Adam. Just moving away from obviously this card and on to another announcement today, Dillian Whyte and Alexander Povetkin, their official press conference announcement, I should say. What do you think Alexander still has to offer at world level? We obviously saw them both fight on the same card last time out in Saudi. What do you expect Alexander to bring?
It's a really good question, and I'll whisper it quietly. I didn't think Alexander won that fight against Michael Hunter, and Michael Hunter was devastated afterwards. However, I did think he came back from a very poor start very well. And it's interesting because he started really well against Anthony Joshua. So what you do know with Alexander Povetkin is he's high quality. His pedigree, his experience, everything's there. Is he slightly over the bump? Is he slightly there to be taken by Dillian? Will Dillian look for a performance maybe even quicker than Anthony Joshua? Or Povetkin's left hook, which we've seen, put lights out with a few people before. David Price, he had that thriller down in Wales. He's still very, very dangerous. And, he showed in that Hunter fight that he has got something still to offer. So, yeah, look, he has lost only twice for a long and illustrious career. And he'll give it everything. He's that sort of fighter. He doesn't quit. He doesn't give up. He's absolutely all in, Alexander Povetkin. And so is Dillian Whyte. So I think the stars will really gel. I think it'll be an absolute firecracker on May the 2nd, but it's a more important fight for Dillian. He's the sort of forgotten man in that triumvirate, in that triangle for a while, the AJ Wilder Fury axis, of which Fury is now the man that everyone's talking about. Before that it was Joshua, before that it was Wilder. These things change and change quickly, and Dillian deserves his shot. He deserves his opportunity. He had a rough sort of last 6 months or so. Needs to get some momentum. He was knocking at our office on January the 1st saying, come on, stop talking about AJ, start talking about me. I said, right, who do you want to fight? Let's get on with it. Let's fight Povetkin or someone like that. He fights Povetkin. He's a man of his word, Dillian. He gets on with it. He doesn't duck anybody. And I think he'll end up fighting Anthony Joshua again at some point, and hopefully Tyson Fury and maybe even Deontay Wilder. He deserves that. And as I said up on the dais, I hope that in the next sort of 12 to 18 months we can get him that world title challenge. Despite all the talk of AJ Fury and all the rest of it, and AJ Pulev now, and Fury and Wilder's 3. But, that will be the big fight if Fury and Joshua both come through their fights. But I hope Dillian's not forgotten, because he deserves his crack, and he'll get it.
Now, to move away from Dillian, but to keep with the heavyweights, because there's been so much going on over these past couple of weeks, let's just kickstart with what happened at the beginning of this week. Anthony Joshua, Kubrat Pulev finally announced. I know Eddie was working on a possible undisputed fight between AJ and Fury in the background, but that hasn't materialised. Again, what do you think Kubrat Pulev still has to offer at world level?
Well, first of all, Andy, I wasn't down with you guys in the media section on Fight Night in Vegas. I sat up in the stands with Frank Smith and Freddie Cunningham and about thousands of Tyson Fury fans, and it was a real different experience. And it was, an amazing performance by Fury. And as soon as it finished, literally the phones were going haywire. So there's a lot of interest in making the big fight, and that is and will be the biggest fight, if they both still got all the belts, of all time, certainly for us. But we all probably realised that, Deontay would take the rematch clause, and that's right. He wants to try and get back his property, which we'll see, it was his 10th, 11th defence. I can't remember. It was a long time he was world champion. So, he'll want to get that back, and he's got every right to. So, then we looked at maybe getting the Pulev fight quicker over the line. It was a tough negotiation, I believe, between the teams. The part I played really was trying to get it to Tottenham. So I, as you know, I'm a big Liverpool fan, and I'd rather have any fight at Anfield, or certainly one. And I'll try to pop there on Saturday, and maybe in the future that will happen. But no, as far as AJ, we wanted him back in London. He wanted to fight in Britain. It was absolutely imperative for him to come back. It's been a couple of years. So his team, Matchroom, Sky, everybody wanted it in the UK. It's just a question of where, because Wembley's tied up with the Euros, and obviously the talk about which stadium. And I went to see the Liverpool Spurs game. I took my little girl to see the match there, and I got a big tour of the stadium, and it was phenomenal, and it blew me away. And I've been to a lot of stadiums around the world, like you have, and state of the art. It's a stunning backdrop. I think it'll be phenomenal for boxing. It'll be fantastic, and I'm really excited. And so I was really forceful to all the teams to try and get it at Tottenham. I thought it was the right place, and I'm really pleased that's been announced. June the 20th is going to be a incredible showcase of heavyweight boxing. Kubrat Pulev, to answer your question, yes, it's a dangerous fight for Joshua. Kubrat Pulev, Bob Arum believes that he'll upset the apple cart. Obviously you see what Andy Ruiz did last year. Kubrat Pulev nearly had his chance in Cardiff. He's a very, very good fighter, and he's very dangerous for Joshua. I think it's going to be a really interesting encounter on a massive stage. Bring it on.
Now on to the small rematch that took place a couple of weeks ago out in Vegas that you was there for. Wilder Fury 2, Tyson with a stunning performance, 7th round victory. Just talk to me about that fight, Adam, as we haven't had a chance to catch up since.
Yeah, it was brilliant. I mean, I'm so glad I was there. We didn't get the production rights for the fight. That was BT. But Sky Sports News covered it, and we all felt that we should be there. It was a huge moment for British boxing, for heavyweight boxing. People were picking beforehand, me included, Deontay Wilder by knockout, Tyson Fury on points. That seemed to be the obvious choice. Tyson Fury and his camp obviously weren't saying that, and they hoodwinked us all. They did what it said on the tin, and off they went. And I think he backed up Wilder. He mixed up his high skills and his movement with some terrific infighting, some great use of strength, his extra weight. I thought it was a phenomenal performance by Tyson Fury. I thought his performance over Vladimir Klitschko was brilliant in Germany. That was our show. He had to deal with, Vladimir had not lost for many, many years. He'd reigned supreme, and Fury was a huge underdog that night. And, they messed around with him mentally. They played around with the canvas that night. And also they had a load of wasps or hornets or something buzzing around him. He was dealing with that as well as Vladimir. So that was an incredible performance. And I don't think he got quite enough praise. And obviously the sort of issues he had afterwards, led to that. But where he's come back from the 27, 28 stone I saw him when he was in Monaco, to going back to becoming, the heavyweight champion of the world and doing it his way. I think it's an unbelievable story. And having Anthony Joshua reclaim his titles and then Tyson Fury go and do that, it's fantastic. So with all the conspiracy theories, the suit, the ridiculous, bizarre sort of, the hands, all the stuff we've seen come out, which seemed to come out in different ways after AJ lost to Ruiz, I don't buy any of that. Anthony Joshua lost to Andy Ruiz first time around. He got it right second. Tyson Fury absolutely took Deontay Wilder apart. Will it happen again? We don't know. Deontay Wilder's got the power, the equaliser. You never know when it's all fresh and all done again. We've shown he almost knocked Tyson Fury out the first time. So everyone's saying, why should the trilogy happen? It's obvious what's going to happen. Well, it wasn't really obvious the first time, and before the second one it wasn't obvious. Just Tyson Fury deserves enormous credit, and his team, and Ben Davison for what he did before. But Sugar Hill and also Andy Lee, who I think was a massive part of it. I know Jordan Thompson sparred with them as well. It was a great lot of sparring partners who really helped him. And Tyson was brilliant, Rise the Gypsy King. And I came back, actually. I was only there for about 36 hours, but I came back via Salt Lake City. And I thought, I've had all the Fury fans, all the noise, I'll have a little break, little ride to Salt Lake City. Came back indirect, back to London. The whole of Tyson's army was on the plane, and it was unbelievable, and it was great, and it was really good. So it was nice to be a fan for once, and it was really enjoyable. So yeah, obviously there's huge developments, and there'll be big fights to come. I think what it's done with Anthony's win and Tyson's win, it means British heavyweight boxing, and you see it with Dubois and Joyce as well coming up. The next 2 or 3 years are going to be absolutely tantalising. They really are.
If Tyson is successful in their rematch, Bob Arum said that he'd like to make the fight with AJ end of this year. I know AJ still has his WBO mandatory to also consider and deal with in Alexander Usyk. Realistically, do you think we could see the undisputed fight by the end of this year? Possibly.
Anything's possible in boxing. You could have made it for June the 20th, maybe, but a lot of money would probably have had to change hands for that to happen. Deontay Wilder had all the power to evoke the rematch clause and did it. And also Kubrat Pulev as well. He's waited his turn. He's mandatory challenge. So I think it's the right decision. Yeah, what will happen? First of all, they both got to win, which, as we know in heavyweight boxing, they both might be fancy to win, but never in reality does it quite work out. So, and it might be one might be really hard, and they might need longer off, and all that sort of stuff. Obviously, the February date this year was very good for Vegas because it was 3 weeks after the Super Bowl and sort of empty weekend. I think they've said the same thing about the middle of July in America. It's a good time. They go back to the MGM. We'll be at Spurs on June the 20th, and we'll see. Could it happen in December? I mean, if it's going to happen in the UK, which obviously a lot of people doubt because of the money involved, it's where it should happen. Obviously, we want to bring it to the UK. December means Cardiff because of the roof. Or, to Saudi come in with the huge money, to Vegas want it. Is it work in Vegas for that time? We know Saudi worked in December, so time zone works for us more than it does in America. There's BT will want a big say in what happens and, where will it end up. And there's the whole Fox will be gone if Wilder loses. But there'll be the ESPN DAZN possible tag. I'm not quite sure what Anthony Joshua's future with DAZN is at the moment. I think it's a fight by fight. I'm not sure. So you need to ask that camp. So I don't know. I mean, there's a lot of things that have to be ironed out still. But it's a big possibility because I think there's a lot of will from Frank Warren, from Eddie, from all parties to get the fight on, from Anthony and from Tyson. So let's see what happens in the summer. Let's enjoy the summer fights. And then you're right, we might have a winter bonanza, or it might happen early in 2021. But I think if both win, it will happen.
Now, before I do let you go, something which I wanted to get your opinion on. Obviously, a matter of things, yesterday or the day before, DAZN announced they're going to launch in the UK. What was your initial reaction to that?
Have you saved the best question till the end, Andy? My initial reaction was, I actually got a call from Joe Markowski, who I'm close to, so I knew it was happening, which was kind of him and good of him. They're good people. Matt Miller's been brilliant with us, and he's a fantastic operator. He's basically running all the production side. We've been close to DAZN. I mean, it's obviously we were there at the launch. We've worked very, very tightly with them on bringing a lot of the DAZN home fights to Britain and vice versa, and it's business, and we they're comrades in business, just like HBO, Showtime, and in ways as well we try and help everybody out. We've got to look at our own businesses. So was it a surprise? No. I knew it was happening, but even before I was told by Joe, it was obviously something we expected. They come into the marketplace, and they're obviously a very interesting concept, and seem to have a lot of money behind them. How's it fared in America? I don't know. I'm not privy enough to know all the numbers, but they've obviously decided to take it from 9 territories out to 200. They'll come in with obviously international stuff, at late hours in the night, which is at the beginning, which is something that obviously doesn't sort of rate highly with us, and we're more obviously we try to force many more big fights at 10 o'clock at night because that's when our customers are there and watching prime time. And but we've had some really good fight nights with DAZN, and listen, we don't know what's going to happen. BT sit on the Sky platform. There's all sorts of things that might happen in the future, so I'm not going to sit here and say, oh my God, it's terrible that DAZN are coming in, or it's awful, or we're never going to work with them again, and all that sort of stuff. But fundamentally it's business, and we'll look at each step at a time. The most important thing for us is our business. We're very happy with Matchroom. We're very happy with the fact that we've got a huge amount of boxing coming up, especially at 10 o'clock at night. Sky Sports box office events, May 2nd, June 20th, at peak time. Scott Quigg this week. We've got the Kelly Avanesian fight. We've got Lewis Ritson in a few weeks. Savannah Marshall fighting for a world title. Terry Harper. We've got big fights coming up, big nights, all prime time, wrapped around the Premier League. It's great. You've got to remember that it's not just about boxing at Sky. I know we all sit here and we love the sport. We all talk boxing. But fundamentally, Premier League, cricket, in abundance, massive, 100 coming up. Golf, Formula One, darts, NFL, GAA, netball, the whole works, rugby, loads of things on Sky Sports. Plus, we're a part of a massive business. So, the Sky Sports box office is a huge part of the wider business. Of course it is. We want to attract our casual fans. We've got the football audiences to push that. We'll be pushing that all week for the Scott Quigg numbers and for the Scott Quigg profile. And so we've got that, and we've got the Sky Sports News and digital arsenals as well to really wrap around these big events. So yeah, it's interesting news. It's great for boxing fans that there's more choice and that there's lots of boxing happening. You know, we look at BT, we don't hide away from. I was at Wilder Fury. We don't hide away from these fights. We talk about them. We keep fiercely independent, and we embrace competition. You know, it will keep us on our toes. Hopefully, make us sharper. Andy, we've done this for 30 years. You know, I've done it for 26 of them, and we've never shied away from a challenge, and we've never worried about the other side, so to speak, and we've lasted and we survive because we're good at what we do. We can always get better. We always learn. We always got to look at change. Women's boxing's doing brilliantly. YouTubers come in. We embrace that. Did I think I'd be commentating next to Joe Weller and Anderson Gibb and Ethan Payne, or Bazinga as my son calls him? Probably not. Did I love it? Yeah. So we embrace it, and if it's more boxing for fight fans and for customers, great. But we'll have our chats with Anthony Joshua and Matchroom to hopefully extend our contracts with them. As you know, they're coming to an end next year, so we'll hopefully extend those, because there's no better people to work with than Matchroom and AJ Boxing. We've loved working with them for many years, and long may it continue.
A few reports that I've seen about DAZN's move, I just want to get your thoughts on. Firstly, something in around 12 fights a year they're going to look to show to begin with, starting off with Canelo's fight on May 2nd. Also, they're going to look for a price point between £5 to £10 a month. With those types of things in consideration, how does that kind of impact your model and your structure?
First of all, we've got to wait and see what they do. They'll come in cheap, of course they will. 12 fight nights a year, that's very tradey, very hardcore. Canelo obviously is a big name, and if he fights a Billy Joe or a Callum, people are going to watch it. But as I said, it is sort of that time of night. They've got to see what other rights they can try and get. What's going to happen in the UK? As I said, the key for us is to keep the Matchroom deal going onwards. And there's a lot of other people that want to get involved in the UK. So there's, it's all about platforms, and they're doing something which is different, which is obviously new. I look at my kids a lot for these sort of talks, because they're the ones that are on YouTube. They're the ones that know about the YouTube fighters. They're the ones that are, on their mobile tech. They're on their tablets. They're on their mobile. They're not watching as much, linear television, I suppose, as that we did. And that's interesting. So, it's a big strategy to look at. It's a big commercial market out there. Do we look to, sort of connect with them in some way? Do we look to, just do our own thing? That's for the coming months to work out, and we'll be looking at it very carefully. But at the moment, DAZN have got to prove that they're doing the right thing. We don't have to prove anything.
Well, Adam, I appreciate your time. We'll leave it there now, because I know you're a busy man and you're going to want to shoot off, because I know you're busy tonight. But I'll leave you to enjoy the rest of your day. Thanks, Speak to Boxing Social as always, and I'll see you soon.
Thanks very much, Andy. Cheers.